3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the Palais Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike, got Ryan Botcher rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Steve Sands from the NBC Sports and the Golf Channel. He's all good to stop by at 5:20 p.m. Eastern time today, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, to recap the third golf major of the year. And that, of course, got to see Bryson DeChambeau be victorious, and you had the choke job of Rory McIlroy. And as someone that went into that tournament on Wednesday, where I made two bets, I had a Hideki Matsuyama outright, and I had Patrick Cantlay outright, I felt good where we were after Friday, felt good and okay where I was on Saturday. Both guys being in the top 5, top 6, if memory serves me right. And I walked into Sunday where Patrick Cantlay was, I believe, 3 shots off the lead. Rory McIlroy was 3 shots off the lead. And you had Bryson DeChambeau at top of the leaderboard. And at one point yesterday, and if you know my history with Patrick Cantlay, I've been betting on him in almost every major since 2019, I thought to myself, maybe I should cash out. Like, I only threw $25 on Hideki Matsuyama. I only threw $25 on Patrick Cantlay. For Cantlay was to win a little over $1,500, and for Matsuyama was to win a little over a grand. At one point, though, they offered me $339 when he was a stroke off the lead, Patrick Cantlay, to cash out. And I said to myself, as nice as that would be to turn 25 into $339, I would not be able to live with myself with how much I've invested and how much skin in the game that I've had with Patrick Cantlay, where I would be so happy if he finally did win a major, if he would have won it, and I would have known, okay, I cashed out and didn't get the full value of what I would have been promised if he would have won it all. And it's amazing how much I like Cantlay and how much of a boring, slow golfer he is. It's kind of crazy. He plays at an incredibly slow pace, but for whatever reason, a few years ago, I always just thought one day this guy would win a major. But the reason why I bring Cantlay up out of the gate is he pretty much defines what this tournament was all about. The U.S. Open, congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau. We'll get to him in just a second. But the back 9, it was begging someone to win. It was begging Cantlay to win. It was begging DeChambeau to win. And it was begging Rory McIlroy to win. And I get it, Rory, who at one point had 4 birdies in 5 holes that started at the end of the front 9 on hole 9. And it looked like he was taking charge and he was going to win his first major since 2014. But then we know Rory crumbled. We know how many opportunities Cantlay had. He crumbled. And it looked like Bryson DeChambeau wasn't going to get the job done. And it looked like we were going to head to a playoff. And he had an incredible shot out of the bunker on 18 for him to get up and down. And he put the ball right next to the jar, pretty much, right next to the pin on 18 out of the sand. And then he had the tap-in putt, and he wins the U.S. Open, his second major championship in his career. We will get to the greatness of DeChambeau in just a second, and one of the craziest sport turnarounds in terms of public perception with Bryson DeChambeau in a minute. But you got to start with the choke job of Rory McIlroy. And Rory, who has become the face of the PGA, and I know recently, like, I don't care. I know some people, golf purists, will still care about LIV and will still care about the PGA. The moment they agreed to this financial merger, which we still have no clue what it means, and there's been no clarity a whiles later, that is when I waved the white flag of caring anything about LIV Golf and this feud with the PGA Tour. But Rory McIlroy, at the time when people were heated about this, he was the face of the PGA Tour. He was the guy to say, I'm never joining LIV Golf. And quite frankly, I hate to say he ended up looking like a fool because what he was doing was right. But all these guys that ended up taking money, even though they lied through their teeth and they're talking about all the changes they want to bring to the tour, blah, blah, blah. Like, that was my biggest gripe. It was just that these guys weren't transparent. Just be honest. Hey, you're getting offered a big bag of cash, even though it comes from a really bad place and from really bad people, that this is why you're taking the money. And I've said it before, and some people don't like it. If I was offered that money, that life-changing money, I would take it. But when you look back at what Rory did, Rory passed on that money. Rory, I thought golf was going to have a big rivalry, PGA and LIV Golf, and it quickly just evaporated. So Rory has been the guy that's always had like egg on his face in this situation in doing what's right, but then ended up trusting the PGA, trusting Jay Monahan, and basically getting played by the PGA Tour because as much as they went after the golfers for taking the money with LIV, we know how money hungry the PGA Tour is, and we eventually saw that play out through time with this financial merger, and Jay Monahan, obviously, with everything that transpired. But for Rory McIlroy, it would have been really damn cool, and I felt really good for him when he's as hot could be on a major championship Sunday, 4 birdies in 5 holes, and he is cruising. And I know that it's not set in stone that he's going to have a victory, but the way that he lost is excruciating. It is. Because to bogey after birdieing 4 out of 5 holes to then bogey 15, 16, and 18, and you lose a major championship when you haven't won one since 2014, that has to mess with your brain. It does. And golf is a mental sport. And if he would have just lost and it wasn't in humiliating fashion, so be it, you could live with it. But the way that he lost, especially on 16 and 18, just shows you how tough this sport is. Like, it's one thing if Zach Gelb misses 2 putts within 5 feet. Trust me, I do it all the time, and I happen to be a decent putter on the green. You know, when it comes to driving and all the other stuff, that is where I am not good. But my friends have always said, you know, Gelb's a good putter. Gelb knows how to putt on the golf course. Like when we do scrambles and stuff like that, you would think by my size, oh, we're going to take Gelb off the tee. No, it's because of my putting. And I will miss a ton of putts within 5 feet. Everyone does. But I'm Zach Gelb, right? I'll go shoot 30 over par on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. This is Rory freaking McIlroy. And it's almost disingenuous to say he was one of us, because I would die to have the score that Rory McIlroy had the other day. I would die to bogey 3 out of the last 4 holes at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. But when you're Rory McIlroy and you were close to either winning the major, when you're up 2 strokes, when DeChambeau bogeyed 12 and you birdied 13 and that put you to 8 under and he was at 6 under, when you go from that to losing and you miss 2 putts within 5 feet, and I read that putt that lipped out on 16. This is from Justin Ray Golf. That Rory McIlroy was 496 for 496 on putts inside 3 feet before his miss on 16. That is just as bad as it gets. And not only do you miss the tap in on 16, but then on 18, where it was basically a 4-foot putt, I would say, he missed it again as it grazed right over the hole. So to lose that way and to lose on 2 putts within 5 feet, I usually like to hear from my athletes after they lose. And let's be real, the PGA Tour golfers, they're always so tough to get on the show because like the PGA Tour they cater to the golfer needs. All right. So like in any other sport, I think we're slamming an athlete for not talking to the media afterwards. But if I was Rory, I don't blame him. Like, I could have a heart. You lose that way after golf has embarrassed you the last few years, and you couldn't hold up your end of the bargain on 16 and 18. To lose that way, I can understand why he elected to get in the car that was brought there for him and have someone drive him off. So that's where you start. It is just the epic choke job of Rory McIlroy. But to start the week, I kind of like to start on a positive note. As much as the choke line story of Rory McIlroy is intriguing, I actually think the story of Bryson DeChambeau is even wilder. Think about it. Bryson DeChambeau, everyone was enamored by him when he first got on tour because of how far he could hit the ball off the tee. It was crazy. And you would think with Big Bomb and Bryson, this would be someone that everyone would universally love. But then he was immature and he had petulant behavior when he got into it with Brooks Koepka, and he was getting fans like kicked off golf events and kicked out of golf events if they ever chanted in his presence or said in his presence like, "Let's go, Brooksy," to Bryson DeChambeau to mock the whole situation. So this was a guy where in my lifetime, I think the most hated guy on the tour was Patrick Reed. But in the last few years, it seemed like almost everybody went from loving DeChambeau because of how far he could hit the ball and how it looked like a video game to hating him after that kerfuffle with Brooks Koepka. But really, maybe it's because, and Steve Sands is going to join us later, he said this after the PGA Championship, he's like, since he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind with Live Golf, where he got his money, but no one watches Live Golf, it's like golf fans, when they see him again, and they see that he actually has a fun side to him, I think some of that people of liking him, going back to the PGA Championship, take out the U.S. Open, is because how much they missed seeing a villain. And villains in sports, is a good thing. But Bryson DeChambeau over the weekend, where you started to see signs of it, and we discussed it on this show at the PGA Championship, but at the U.S. Open, the way he interacted with fans, the emotions he displayed on the golf course in good moments and bad moments is awesome for the sport. And it made Bryson DeChambeau in the crazy, up and down roller coaster ride of Bryson DeChambeau's career just continue this crazy ride. Where at first, people enamored with how far he could hit the ball. Then people hate his guts after the incident with Brooks Koepka. But now, not only did he finish second at the PGA Championship, but then he follows it up the next major. Most of us only watch the majors. He wins the U.S. Open, and he does so in a classy way, in a way that he's interacting with the fans, and he's showing a tremendous amount of personality. It's everything I want in a star. I want to see Bryson DeChambeau dominate. I want to see Bryson DeChambeau have fun. I want to see Bryson DeChambeau interact and give back to the fans. And he did that. And he won. So it was check, 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 check. So I probably would say that this major championship is going to be highlighted based off the Rory choke job and him missing those putts on 16 and 18. But let's also give Bryson DeChambeau a big round of applause and welcome him back into the positive graces of sports fans, because for a while, it got ugly, it got nasty, and it was his fault, and it was his poor actions, and it was his wrongdoing. But people have done a lot worse, and we have forgave them, and we have rooted for them. And I think people forget how young Bryson DeChambeau is, and they're still, he's my age, she's 30, but there's a lot of maturing that you could do in your late 20s until you turn 30. And we have seen Bryson DeChambeau not only understand how to dominate on a golf course, that was never in question, but off the course. And the stardom of Bryson DeChambeau and the professional responsibilities of Bryson DeChambeau have improved immensely from his immature state a few years ago. So I commend Bryson DeChambeau. Heck, I wish he won the PGA Championship instead of the U.S. Open, because I had him on an outright ticket at the PGA Championship. I didn't put any money on him at the U.S. Open, but that was a cool moment yesterday for golf. And even though I think a lot of us will remember the horrific misses within 5 feet, 6 feet from Rory on 16 and 18, that bunker shot on 18 was awesome, because in a tournament where Cantlay couldn't capitalize, for a while DeChambeau couldn't capitalize, Rory McIlroy couldn't capitalize, on the final hole, when it looked like we were probably heading to a playoff, Bryson DeChambeau said, I'm going to find a way to get out of the sand, put the ball right pretty damn close to the pin, and then tap it in, and then go enjoy myself. And did he do so afterwards? Talking to fans, signing for fans, in round, at the round, before round. Afterwards, there was a reporter who was replicating the shot from the sand, and DeChambeau just drove by on a golf cart, jumped out, got in the sand with them, and the reporter put the ball right next to the pin. And then you have Bryson DeChambeau saying, hey, you just won the U.S. Open. So to see him enjoy the moment is very cool, and to see him get that moment and grow up was pretty damn neat with Bryson DeChambeau. So that's where I'm at after what was a very fun, at times tough to watch, U.S. Open, but I do think it's nice, right? Father's Day weekend, a Father's Day on Sunday. You have a crowded leaderboard at the top. No one really pulling away. Ups and downs. You thought Rory was going to get it. Cantlay was alive for a little bit. And then DeChambeau ends up prevailing. And it was a pretty damn cool story. And also, his father passed away a few years ago. And for him to dedicate winning the U.S. Open to his father was a very nice moment, and a very emotional and human moment that I think there's many people out there on a day where most of us are spending time with their dads. You forget people whose fathers have passed away, And to have Bryson DeChambeau on the public stage talk about his dad passing away, and he dedicates the trophy to the U.S. Open. I'm sure there's a lot of people that were missing Dad yesterday with Dad no longer being there, that a lot of people that probably brought a tear to their eye or they could relate to it going through something similar. So that's how I kind of look back at the U.S. Open. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll see if the NBA season will end tonight. All eyes are on Kyrie Irving. Will he go down in Boston tonight, or will they send this baby back to Dallas for a Game 6 with the Celtics up 3-1?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
It is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. I would be very surprised, by the way, if we're walking in here tomorrow and we're talking about the Boston Celtics having to go back to Dallas for a Game 6, which would occur on Thursday. I think the NBA Finals, I originally picked Boston in 6, but I think the NBA Finals end tonight. I'm not going to get all delirious and crazy and go nuts because the Dallas Mavericks blew out the Boston Celtics in Game 4. It happens even in the NBA Finals where a team will take a game off. The Celtics have a 3-0 lead, and then you got into that Game 4. We know Dallas is a good team, but not a great team. They were, with Boston already getting the job done, it's not stunning that Dallas showed a lot of life, and Dallas gave their home fans something to cheer for if that's the last time that Dallas is walking into that building with this team for this year. But with Banner 18 basically getting already drawn up, with the Larry O'Brien trophy being in the building tonight, and Boston being up 3-1 as they go home, I would be surprised with Boston just being the better team. It's amazing to me how there were some analysts before this series, and even some analysts still now, that think Dallas has a deeper roster. I just don't see it. I look at the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics are just a better team. I know a lot of us did not want to praise them during the regular season because until they raise that Larry O'Brien trophy, it's always wait until the other shoe falls, and I get it. There was no moment of universal praise that we could have given them in the first 3 rounds of the postseason because the Heat were without Jimmy Butler. The Cavs had Donovan Mitchell injured for 2 games. The Pacers had Tyrese Halliburton injured for 2 games, and none of those opponents were very strong. So it's one thing for us to say that. I will say, Joel Embiid, by the way, showing up to Game 4. I don't know why he was there. Maybe some award, something. I don't know. But it's not like crazy for a player that's not in the NBA Finals to go and watch the NBA Finals. But for Joel Embiid to show up and get offered a spot to sit on the pregame show or halftime show for ESPN, I don't have a problem with it. And I like Joel Embiid. But him talking about how much he hates the Boston Celtics and how the Celtics won't be a dynasty, hey, big fella, shut your mouth. All right? You cannot beat the Celtics when it matters. The only way you've got to the NBA Finals is getting on an ESPN show. You've never played in an NBA Finals yourself. And I'm not sitting here and saying that the Celtics are about to become a dynasty. I'm not. And I think it's even a ridiculous conversation to already be having before they even win the championship, even though it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to win a championship. But it's a bad look for Joel Embiid, who can't beat Boston in the playoffs to save his life, to be talking about how much he hates Boston and how everyone was hurt this year in the Eastern Conference. I get it, Joel. There's injuries. Even if your squad was fully healthy, they weren't beating the Boston Celtics this year because you failed to show up in the fourth quarter of big games in the postseason. Tyrese Maxey's very good, but you don't have a great third player. So let's stop with this nonsense from Joel Embiid. But I would be surprised if the Boston Celtics don't win tonight. And it's for one reason. And the reason is this. I just don't trust Dallas, and I don't trust Kyrie Irving. I heard Maggie and Perloff earlier today. They were doing a good topic. Do you believe in some of the praise? Do you believe the image has been repaired and improved for Kyrie Irving and Bryson DeChambeau? And they did a poll question. I think it was like, just Kyrie, just Bryson, both or neither. And the way I answered it is just Bryson. Because I believe Bryson DeChambeau matured. You know, there has been moments in my life, like, there's some trolls and stuff that I would used to go after on social media. Like, when you do this long enough, you just don't care anymore. Like, if someone wants to take time out of their day to tweet you and tell you how much you suck and how, you know, disgusting things about you and your family. Like, I'm not saying that you love it, but it happens. You know, part of this job is having 50% of the people that love you and 50% of the people that hate you. And I think we all naturally mature. But that's what I kind of think happened with Bryson, where him and Brooks had an issue. Everyone, including yours truly, or most of us, you know, we took the side of Brooks Koepka, and Bryson had work to do. And Bryson did a good job in repairing his image, and it helps when you win a U.S. Open, but a lot of us had this take after the PGA Championship when he lost to Xander Schauffele. And to see just how Bryson interacted with the fans all throughout the week, the countless autographs that he signed, he knew what he needed to do. And it's one thing to take care of business on the course, but then you have to take care of business off the course as well. And I believe what we've seen in the last month, 2 months from Bryson DeChambeau is a genuine change. For Kyrie Irving, I thought I believed it a little bit. Like what Kyrie shared when he was in Brooklyn, the anti-Semitic film that he shared was disgusting. It was absolutely despicable and deplorable. Kyrie Irving has been his worst enemy because Kyrie Irving got in his head in Cleveland, was curious what life would be like without LeBron and being the guy. In Boston, he couldn't handle it. And it's not like the Celtics fans didn't support him. He was the one that got up in front of the Celtics fans and said, I'll be here as long as you want me. And then was a malcontent and bailed. Then he got everything he wanted in Brooklyn. It wasn't good enough. He acted like a jackass. And then for about 3 or 4 months, he locked in Dallas because I think he respects Jason Kidd because Jason Kidd was his favorite player growing up and his idol growing up in the basketball world. And Kyrie, when he's locked in on basketball, there's no doubting it. He's an incredible talent. And he is phenomenal. But Kyrie Irving, his biggest kryptonite is himself, and it's also the Boston Celtics or the Boston crowd. Because Kyrie tried to downplay that the crowd was going to be a factor, and he tried to say, hey, in years past, I didn't handle things the right way. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's a positive step for Kyrie Irving. I was at least believing in that week and a half off that we had from the conference finals to the finals. I was believing or at least allowing Kyrie to get that chance. But there was a reason why I was so critical of Kyrie after game one, because everything he tried to sell you for 7 to 10 days was a bunch of bull junk. He was phony. Because after game one, he's getting into it with fans. He didn't play well. Then he says the crowd, he thought the crowd was going to be louder. And then after game two, when he failed to show up, let me remind you once again, because he's been no show in game one, no show in game two, he's walking off the court and he got into it with another fan. And then he was holding up 5 fingers like, we'll see you for game 5. When you're down 0-2 and you failed to show up, who cares if you go to the fans and say, oh, I'll be back here for game 5. Yeah, you're coming back for game 5, and Boston could put the nail in your coffin tonight. So the Kyrie Irving stuff, and I'll play you the audio later. Like, I didn't go crazy with what he said about Boston fans. I know that people are freaking out about it. But, he's answering a question, but it's just so unnecessary. And it shows, like, my gripe isn't necessarily what he said. It's more so he still thinks he was in the right. He still thinks he's the victim. And not only that, it's amazing how much real estate the Celtics fans, when he did everything wrong, still have in his head. And he tries to paint an image that is just untrue. So Kyrie, when Boston has a chance to win a championship tonight, does he have the mental toughness to walk into that building and put up like 40 points and send this back to game 6 in Dallas? Like, does he have the ability from a pure talent standpoint? Absolutely. He is a skillful, talented player. But from a mental standpoint, I don't think he's got it. Now, if this was up against the Sixers, if this was up against the Heat, if this was up against the Cavs, Milwaukee, different conversation. But because it's up against Boston in Boston, I don't think he's got it. I don't. And I know Dallas fans were ready to basically hit me over the head on social media after game one when I said Kyrie Irving does not have the mental toughness to beat Boston 4 times in a 7-game series. And I got slammed for it. But with the shenanigans that he pulled in the first 2 games, and now all this nonsense, what he's saying after his team finally gets a victory, I don't even, from a sport talk show host standpoint, yes, I would love to get a game 6. I would love for the NBA season to extend. But in terms of my honest opinion, I would be very, very surprised if we're sitting here tomorrow when the show gets underway at 3 p.m. Eastern time, noon Pacific, and we're talking about Kyrie Irving having a sensational performance and Kyrie Irving finding a way to shut the Boston crowd up and get this baby back to Dallas for game 6 on Thursday. I would just be surprised. So I'm not going to go nuts. And then Kyrie continues to run his mouth in losses and in one defeat. I'm not going to go nuts into taking the bait and thinking that the Celtics lose tonight. And the spread 6.5, it's a tough number right there. I'm going to lay it tonight. I'm going to lay it, and I'm going to think Boston, maybe it's a competitive half. The Mavericks, a few times in this series, it feels like they should be up more at halftime, or it feels like they should be in control. And either they have a slim lead or they have no lead. It would not surprise me if we see something like that. But the third quarter that you saw in game 3 from the Celtics, I think you'll see a similar third quarter tonight. Because Boston, for years, didn't have that killer instinct through some of these tough times with Tatum and Brown, where at first they overachieved, then they underachieved, and they got so close, but yet so far. I think they smell blood tonight. I do. I think they find a way to end this. After going up 3-0, you could exhale, you could lose game 4. In your home crowd, with your home crowd behind you in your building, I just trust, and it looks like the Celtics are the mentally tougher team. And I don't think the Mavericks, from Luka bitching with the officials and not getting back on defense to Kyrie, it seems like he's caring more about the fans than the actual NBA Finals. I don't think the Mavs have the stones to go into TD. They have the talent. I don't think they have the stones and the mental toughness to go into TD Garden and get a Game 5 victory tonight. So I think the NBA season, unfortunately, does end tonight. But for our pal Sully, he's going to the game. Even with his crappy cell phone service, he called us last week, and Sully was basically saying he was hoping his Celtics lose Game 4 because he has very expensive tickets for Game 5 tonight. So that'd be cool for Sully if he gets to go hang out with the Celtics and see the Celtics raise another Larry O'Brien trophy. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we have 3 updates on 3 NFL players that are all looking for new contracts. We'll get to those updates when we return. But first, it is update time with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with Life Electronic Device and Pet Health Insurance. It has been 16 years since the Celtics last won an NBA title, which is forever in Boston. After a rare loss on Friday, the Celtics have a chance to wrap up their 18th title at home tonight. They host the Mavericks, coming off their 3rd worst loss in finals history, but that hasn't dampened the city's enthusiasm. Jason Tatum said excitement is at an all-time high.
When you drive around and go to the gas station, or I went to go get some ice cream yesterday, it's Celtics gear everywhere, and everybody's super excited about this team and what we've accomplished and what we have the chance to accomplish.
The Celtics are 45-6 at home this year, including the postseason. Kristaps Porzingis hoping to play after missing games 3 and 4 with an ankle injury. The Yankees' Garrett Cole will make his season debut on Wednesday in Game 2 of their series against the Orioles. He has been out with an elbow injury. The Mets look for their 6th in a row tonight as they take on the defending champion Rangers in Texas. And the Phillies open a series against the Padres with shortstop Trey Turner back in the lineup after missing 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and that's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show. First, let me tell you, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the program when we might be able to answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. We got some news in the NFL. It has to do with T. Higgins, and then we'll react to Brandon Ayuk and Hassan Reddick as well. T. Higgins has signed a one-year contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was a franchise-tagged eligible player. They slapped the franchise tag on him. They could still work a long-term deal out from now until somewhere in the middle of July. I would be surprised if that does happen. They've already taken care of Joe Burrow. I think they have to find a way to take care of Jamar Chase first and then see how much funds they do have left for T. Higgins. But the reason why this is big is we were wondering what was going to be the end game here with the Bengals and T. Higgins. And it doesn't mean that T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal for life. It doesn't mean that T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal this time next season. But what it means for now is that T. Higgins is going to be on the field this year for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that is the most important thing, because I would have been vehemently against trading T. Higgins, and I would rather lose him for nothing than not have him on the field this year for the Cincinnati Bengals. And maybe a year from now, they slap another tag on him, and then they trade him, and they work an avenue to trade T. Higgins. But for now, the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender. The Bengals have been the one team, not only in the AFC, but in the entirety of the NFL, that when it has mattered, they have found a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So, when I look at this Bengals team, that last year their season got derailed because of an injury to Joe Burrow, as long as you keep Joe Burrow healthy, even though the AFC North is loaded this year, you should probably win that division. And on paper, you are the team that is the second most feared in the AFC. You needed to find a way for one last go at it, for one last hurrah, to have Burrow, Chase, and Higgins all together. And it's nice that they were able to find an outcome where that does exist. Is there a way that they make sure for future years that the trio of Burrow, Higgins, and Chase remain intact in Cincinnati? Yeah. You can't tell me it's impossible, because go look in Philadelphia, where the Eagles have found a way to pay Jalen Hurts, they found a way to pay A.J. Brown, and they found a way to pay Devontae Smith. And in probably short order, right, we know the Miami Dolphins have already paid Tyreek Hill. We know they paid Jalen Waddle, and next up for a contract extension is Tua Tagovailoa. So we have seen teams before find a way, especially the Eagles, to pay their quarterback and pay their two-star wide receivers. I don't see why the Bengals can't get it done. It doesn't mean it will. But what they needed to have happen this offseason is just find a way to elongate their championship window. And if they would have traded T. Higgins with Burrow and Chase, could they win a Super Bowl? Yes. But it takes a valuable second piece, a valuable complementary piece away from them. So this was big to give one more run. Maybe it's going to be more, but one more run with this trio intact. And we saw them a few years ago get close. If their offensive line would have just held up for maybe like a quarter of a second more up against Aaron Donald, you had Jamar Chase wide open down that right sideline in a Super Bowl, where they would have won the game or would have put them in position to win the game, because they got that ball back with, I think, under 2 minutes to go after you had the Rams score a touchdown. But they were not able to get another quarter second blocking up against Aaron Donald. Last year, their team was impacted in a big way by Joe Burrow in the beginning of the year not being healthy. Then finally when he started to get back, then he got hurt again, and then he was done for the season. So that was massive that you at least had a quick fix. Not a long-term fix, but a quick fix with T. Higgins. All right, let's get to the Brandon Ayuk stuff. So Brandon Ayuk is going to keep on getting on social media, and he's going to keep on saying things that makes it seem like he's not thrilled with the San Francisco 49ers. He wants a long-term deal. They've been working on getting a long-term deal. They obviously have not been close enough because I don't think you need to play these social media games if you're close. And Brandon Ayuk, he posted this, I think, on TikTok today. He was talking to Jaden Daniels. The two of them know each other from their days at Arizona State. And this is what Brandon Ayuk had to say to Jaden Daniels. And he was talking about, I guess, the 49ers. And this is how everything did go down.
Bro, look in the camera, bro. Flip the camera.
He got me vlogging this.
Bro, what? They said they don't want me back. I swear.
Oh my.
So you hear that. Jaden Daniels obviously wants Brandon Ayuk on his team, even though he has Terry McLaurin right now and Jahan Dotson. There has been rumors before about Brandon Ayuk getting traded, going back to the draft. The Commanders may be a team that were interested. The Patriots were a team that was interested as well. Supposedly the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. And Brandon Ayuk, who has, I guess, been working on trying to get a long-term deal done with the 49ers, since those negotiations aren't going the way he has thought they were going to go, maybe the Niners, or he interpreted that by saying the Niners don't want him back. Could this be? Because remember, Brandon Ayuk isn't an old guy. He's only 26 years old. Could this be maybe he's reading some of the social media that's about him where there's a minority of the fan base that doesn't want him back? Like, that's all very vague. But when you're on the phone with your friend Jaden Daniels and you say they don't want him back, and then Jaden Daniels screams, "Let's go!" That kind of comes off to me, right, as Brandon Ayuk interpreting that the 49ers don't want him back. In reality, I do think the Niners want him back. But these are contract negotiations right now. And these don't always go as swiftly as the player would like them or the organization would like them. And the Niners have been in a spot before with wide receivers where they are willing to get uncomfortable. It got uncomfortable with Deebo Samuel. They rewarded him with the long-term solution. And I think I've said this on this show about 600 times in the last few months. And I said this when a lot of people thought Brandon Ayuk was going to get traded this offseason. I think the Niners' preference is to keep Brandon Ayuk. I think they're trying to run it back with Ayuk and Deebo for one more year. Deebo is the better all-around player, but Ayuk is the better wide receiver and the natural wide receiver. And with the wear and tear on the body of Deebo Samuel, and he has 2 years left on his deal this year and next year, I think the Niners will ultimately get a deal done with Brandon Ayuk. They're just trying to figure out the numbers, and they're trying to number crunch, and they're trying to get him at a number that's more in his, in the Niners' favor than his favor. And there's going to be a little back and forth, and it's going to get contentious. And Ayuk has displayed he's not afraid to get on social media and voice his frustrations with the 49ers. But ultimately, I don't think the Niners will let an Ayuk walk out of that building. And I think they'll find a way, even with some of this ugliness, to get the deal done. And then a year from now, they're going to trade Deebo Samuel. Because, if you don't think that way, just someone answer this question for me. Even if you don't get the deal done with Ayuk this offseason, why are you trading him now? You could have traded him at the draft when you knew what the draft pick was going to be. Let's say the Commanders or the Patriots are the two teams that are interested. Why would they give up a first-round pick now? The Patriots and Commanders can't afford to do that. The Commanders are picking at 2 this year. The Patriots are picking at 3. As much as I like Brandon Ayuk and he's a good football player, you can't trade another potential top 10 pick for Brandon Ayuk. Now, those teams want to give up a second-round pick and the Niners want to depart. Then that takes 2 to tango and you get a deal done. But if the Niners are going to get rid of Ayuk, I don't think it's coming now. And I get it. It's a fifth-year option. They could still go down the road of the franchise tag if they really wanted to. So whether they get a deal done or not from now until the start of the season, that's a different question. But is Ayuk, do I foresee him being on a different team at the start of week 1? No, I don't. Now, Hassan Reddick. I know we were all talking about Aaron Rodgers not being at mandatory minicamp. Hassan Reddick didn't show up. And it seems like, and I know Hassan well, going back to our days where we were classmates together at Temple University. And Hassan Reddick, he was someone that I saw him when he was a nobody, and you could just tell the talent that he has. He is one of the more underappreciated defensive ends, outside linebackers, however you want to refer to him as, in football. He's had 4 straight seasons, double-digit sacks. His contract is anywhere between $14 to $15 million this season. For being one of the better pass rushers in football, he deserves more money in the final year of his deal. The Eagles weren't willing to give it to him, so they signed Bryce Huff at a cheaper rate. They sent Hassan Reddick to the Jets, right? He's from Camden, New Jersey, so not that far from home. And I guess he told the Jets, yeah, I understand that you're not going to give me a new contract and I'll show up, right? That's the way that it's been reported. And he didn't show up for mandatory minicamp. I don't blame Hassan Reddick, though, for what he's trying to do, because I don't know what his end price is, but bare minimum, he should get a few more million for this upcoming season. Now, I think the Jets have made it clear, you go ball out this year, 5th straight season of double-digit sacks, you'll either get that elite money from us or from somewhere else. But I understand Hassan not going to everything because right now he's only making $14 to $15 million a year. And to us, only $14 to $15 million a year, hey, that's a heck of a lot of money. But for someone what he's capable of doing, a lot of those great pass rushers are making $27, $28 million a year. So I think ultimately there will be more money tacked onto that deal or maybe incentives tacked onto that deal. Ultimately, Hassan's going to have to show up and play. When he does show up, that's going to be something that we're all waiting to see. But he really doesn't have much leverage here. So try to get as much as you can now. Try to get the Jets to bump up your salary now. But you go have another great season, whether it's a Jets or somebody else, someone will give you a 3 or 4 year deal this upcoming offseason.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Yesterday, we saw Bryson DeChambeau continue to turn around the public perception of him. Congratulations to him on winning the U.S. Open. But you also had Rory McIlroy, who after DeChambeau bogeyed 12 and Rory birdied 13, and Rory had 4 birdies in 5 holes, you had Rory McIlroy with the 2-shot lead. And even though no one after Rory really had 4 birdies in 5 holes up until the DeChambeau shot out of the trap on 18, no one was running away with this U.S. Open. But the way that Rory lost it, and bare minimum didn't even get to a playoff, it's a choke job. And I don't know why. I feel like in every other sport, maybe because golf, it's talked about in a classier way. Like every host around the country today would be saying, Rory choked, Rory choked, Rory choked. I think a lot are. But some people with golf, they're like skeptical because of how tough golf is to use the word choke. But if that was like LeBron in the NBA yesterday, if that was, I don't know, Shohei Ohtani in baseball, whatever the equivalent would be, if that was Patrick Mahomes in football, if that was Connor McDavid in hockey, everyone would be saying choke job, choke job, choke job. And the way that Rory failed to get the little things done on 16 and 18, and after birdieing 4 times in 5 holes on 15 bogeys, 16 bogeys, 17 saves par, then 18 bogey, it's just a terrible, terrible job by Rory McIlroy, who has not won a major championship, by the way, since 2014. And from Justin Ray Golf, up until that putt that he missed with inside 3 feet where it lipped out on 16, Rory McIlroy was 496 for 496 on putts inside 3 feet this season. So he missed that putt inside 3 feet on 16, and then on 18, it was about a 4-foot putt. That one wasn't even close. Like, at least on 16, right, that was just bad luck, it felt like. On 18, I don't even think 3/4 of the ball even was close to going in the hole. Like, 16 was just a terrible lip out. On 18, it was just a mental blunder. It was tough to watch. And I know some people like Rory, some people dislike Rory. I felt bad for Rory McIlroy yesterday. Because let me be clear, I was never a big Rory fan. And maybe it was because when Rory was really having the height of his success, that was during Tiger's, worst moments. And I am a huge Tiger Woods fan. Huge. Like a lot of people are that watch golf. And since Rory was being tagged as that next guy, just naturally, since I was a Tiger guy, I despised Rory. But when Rory really tried to be the face of golf during what ended up being a bunch of nonsense between Live Golf and the PGA Tour with how it came to an end, or we think it's come to an end, Rory was the guy that said, no, I'm not going to take the money, and I'm not going to go to Live Golf. And he really carried the flag for the PGA Tour, which I respected. Now, ultimately, we all know that the PGA Tour ended up being just as hungry for the money as the Live Golf guys. My big gripe, though, with the Live Golf guys, they just weren't honest. Like, just say you're taking the money, and we all knew why you were taking the money. It's not because what Phil Mickelson tried to sell us on, they're trying to change golf, and they're trying to make big impact and a big change on the PGA Tour. Like, that was a bunch of bull crap from the start. He got offered a big bag of cash. So Rory ends up walking away from that, looking like he got played because of his loyalty. And here we are yesterday, with him not winning a major championship since 2014, and after he finished up on 13 with the birdie and Bryson bogeyed on 12, he has a 2-stroke lead. He was 8 under and Bryson was 6 under. And then on 15, 16, 18, bad club selection, couldn't finish the job with the putter. It was just a terrible, terrible finish for Rory McIlroy. So off of that, let's discuss. We'll go around the room. Yours truly, Zach Gelb. We got Moist Mike and Ryan Botcher here with us today on this very busy Monday. Let's go through the worst choke job in sports history. It may be my favorite moment as a sports fan, but if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you hate this. And this was the 28-3 epic choke job of the Atlanta Falcons, where I'm at that game. I rarely go to a game by myself, but with the price of a Super Bowl ticket and how it's tough to get your hands on a Super Bowl ticket, I was only able to get my hands on one Super Bowl ticket that year. And I'm in NRG Stadium, and I'm sitting in the upper deck, 50-yard line, very happy with my seat. That's why I love to watch football. Upper deck, anywhere 50 to 40-yard line, you see everything develop. So I'm there by myself, and I think it was Lady Gaga who did the halftime show that year. And she, came into the building, it made it look like she was jumping in from outside. And I was, thinking to myself, when the Patriots are down at half, I think it was 21-3 at half, or was it 28-3 at halftime? I forget what the score was. No, because they allowed that touchdown where Ninkovich looked like he was 1,000 years old to make it 28-3. So it was 21-3 at halftime. And I was thinking to myself, well, Lady Gaga's coming into the stadium. Can I just get, grab onto that string and then jump out of the stadium? And it was when you're in attendance for a Super Bowl, the halftime show in attendance, it usually stinks because it's made for people on TV. So during halftime, I walked to get a popcorn, spent $20 on a popcorn. And I remember tweeting out, wasted all this money on a Super Bowl ticket, wasted all this money on a popcorn. And then Evan Roberts down the hall at WFAM was like, I don't feel bad for you whatsoever because he's a Jet fan. And here's the tough moment for me after my team has won 4 championships in my lifetime, having to sit through them just getting humiliated on the big stage. So, second half starts. There was never a thought in my mind of leaving. You don't leave the Super Bowl. Come on. That would be the weakest moment. Who was the actor? Was it Wahlberg? I think it was Wahlberg who left the Super Bowl early. There was some big Boston actor who left the Super Bowl early, claimed his kids were like sick or whatever. I don't like, hey, Santa, you have a young child. Even if your young child was throwing up at the Super Bowl, especially, I'm assuming it was Wahlberg, he's in a suite. Find a way for the kid to suck it up in the second half, all right? Even if he's throwing up over everybody.
It was Marky Mark.
Yeah.
And the Funky Bunch.
Yeah. So I guess his kids were sick and he left. That's a bad job out of Mark Wahlberg. But for some reason, when the second half started, there was a group, there was like a family. It's like 4 or 5 guys. They all came to the Super Bowl together. There was a grandpa there, dad, uncles, all that stuff, and a few grandchildren. And they were all from Boston, and my uncle's from Framingham, so we were talking about that. And for whatever reason, it's like you go to the game, I'm by myself, and I'm sitting next to 4 or 5 people. We just start talking. And as you start to see this comeback, like, you got a touchdown, make it 28-9. All right, no one's believing. Then when they hit a field goal and the drive stalled at 28-12, I'm like, that's actually a big field goal because it makes it a 2-score game. And either a few years before, it was like the year before that. No, it must have been a few years before that because the Patriots, maybe it was the year before that. The Patriots lost an AFC championship game to the Broncos. And they failed to take a field goal late. And they were driving at the end. They needed a 2-point conversion. And if they would have taken that field goal earlier, then they wouldn't have had to go for 2. They could have just been driving for the score for the win. So for whatever reason, I always thought that's a part of the comeback that doesn't get enough credit was that field goal at 28-12 because it makes it a 2-score game. And the moment when Dante Hightower forces that fumble, the guys next to me and I, we start going nuts, ball. Did they recover it? Did they recover it? And they did. So that's when the vibes of us started to think there was a belief. But it didn't need to be spoken. But it was clear that the guy sitting next to us, no one was thinking that this was actually going to, we were thinking about it. We wouldn't say that maybe this was going to happen. Then the Patriots march down the field off the fumble. They quickly get the touchdown. It's in 2-3 minutes. They do the Kevin Falk direct snap play that they did up against the Panthers in the Super Bowl, now with James White up against the Falcons. So it's a 1-score game here. And there's a greater belief now that this is possible. And I'll never forget, on that next drive, Matt Ryan finds Julio Jones. It's one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history, but no one ever will talk about it because the Falcons didn't win the game. When that play happened, for whatever the vantage point was from my seat, I think it was Eric Rowe who he made the catch over. I thought Eric Rowe picked off the football. I did. And not only did he not pick it off, Julio Jones makes a great catch. Then Kyle Shanahan, all-time choke artist in the Super Bowl, for whatever reason, doesn't run the ball. Penalties, all that. And the Patriots end up getting the ball back. They march down the field. They score. They do the 2-point conversion play to Danny Amendola. And it's a tie game going into overtime. The moment the Patriots won the toss, that's the first time I said to myself, okay, this game is over. Because you knew Brady was marching down the field. Now, I thought Martellus Bennett actually caught what would have been the game-winning touchdown, and he got mauled, and it was pass interference. It sets it up at the 1-yard line. The Pats almost throw a pick a little after that. But then it was this play on the Patriots radio network where the Patriots walked it off as Brady pitches the ball to James White, and the Patriots complete the 28-3 comeback.
Second and goal to go from the 2. Toss sweep right for James White. Cuts it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown. And a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it.
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Led by the greatest quarterback.
Look at Brady.
In Super Bowl and NFL annals.
One more ring.
James White. And a silver trophy is coming back to New England.
That was awesome. And the family that was sitting next to me, we're going nuts. We were going crazy. It was like I went to the game with them. I was a part of their family. No clue what ever happened to that family. But we shared a moment at that game. And then Roger Goodell gets introduced and everyone's booing him. And the grandfather of the group, who must have been 80-something years old, I can't repeat what he said on the radio, but he said a lot of not so nice things in a Bostonian accent directed to Roger Goodell, which I found to be very hilarious. So that, to me, is one of the biggest choke jobs ever. It's the Atlanta Falcons being up 28-3 in a Super Bowl. And even after it looked like they were off the hook, Matt Ryan to Julio Jones, when it was a one-score game, they still find a way to gag up what would have been a victory for them. So that's my biggest choke job. Samter, how about you?
That was a good one, but the part that was hard for me on that one is because that was a team choking, right? So, you don't know, was it Matt Ryan who choked? Was it the defense who choked? Was it Kyle Shanahan who choked? Was it Dan Quinn who choked? Yeah. So it's hard to say a team choked in that moment. So for me, that's why...
They definitely did choke.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying, when I'm thinking of choking, I'm thinking of an individual person who in that moment choked. That's why golf is so easy to find chokers, because it's like one guy making a choke job. But there was this one moment back in the 90s, one of the most popular, famous groups of young athletes in college basketball, maybe ever. And finally, this team was close to capturing a title, or at least attempting to, even though they were down in the game against North Carolina. And then Chris Webber did this.
A 2 to tie. Michigan will have to bring it.
Oh, he walked! He walked and the referee missed it.
Webber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts remaining.
Oh, he causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
He called a timeout. Michigan doesn't have any.
He got by with a walk, and Jimmy calls a he calls a timeout. He doesn't realize that's Michigan's too many, and so it'll be a technical foul. North Carolina shooting and the ball. A huge mental mistake.
And that was part of it. What he said at the end, a huge mental mistake. To me, a choke job is up here, right? Like having an error or playing poorly isn't necessarily choking. Choking is when you let your mind overtake your body and then you can't perform at your highest level. Chris Webber, in that moment, choked twice in the biggest moment of his life. He traveled, they didn't call it, then he called the timeout. Granted, there was somebody on the bench signaling for him.
Definitely someone on the bench saying timeout.
But a player of his magnitude needs to know the situation, needs to know they don't have timeouts. The coach also needs to inform them, hey, guys, if you get the rebound, just bring it up, and we don't have any timeouts. That's on the coach, too. But at the end of the day, that, to me, was the biggest choke job I have ever seen.
Now, Two-Tone Tony brings up a good point in the YouTube chat. There's nothing to do with what we're talking about. I wore purple today. You wore purple today. Ryan Botcher, I don't think you're wearing purple today. You're just wearing an AC/DC shirt, right?
It's black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's AC/DC. Anytime you wear AC/DC, you can wear whatever color you want. AC/DC
you know what? I changed
rocks.
my answer. Ryan Botcher's the biggest choke job artist in the history of sports.
Was this coordinated?
He wears purple. I wear purple. No, it wasn't coordinated. You just dropped the ball. That's a bad job out of you. You didn't have the mental awareness to realize you needed to wear purple today.
A bit telepathic.
What's your biggest choke job in sports?
So you mentioned individual players in an individual game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't mention multiple games to where a team can blow a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Never happened before, on top of the fact that they were the best regular season team in history. 73-9. On top of that, they were cruising through the playoffs. You get to the finals, and LeBron James and Kyrie Irving do this.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up to the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. Wow. His third block of the game.
A minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown.
So you can understand the fact that, okay, they lost Draymond Green to suspension. You still have injuries going throughout the team. There's no way that a team should blow a 3-1 lead. You have...
Draymond decided to kick a bunch of people, too.
Yeah, okay.
And the cojones.
Was it 3 times in one playoff run?
Nah, I'm just saying, he decided to be a knucklehead.
But either way, you were healthy. Sparked it. He was healthy for more than 3 games in that series. He was playing. On top of the fact that 73-9, best regular season record, better than the Bulls.
Yeah.
There's no way the Cavs should have had any chance coming back. You had all the momentum. Klay Thompson went MIA. Curry went MIA in Game 7. And that is why it's the biggest show.
Let me ask this question, too. What's the individual moment in sports that made you jump out of your chair the most? Because, like, with my personal fandom, it was when Malcolm Butler picked off the ball. But if I took my sports fandom out of it, like just a natural moment where you don't have a dog in the fight, when LeBron James made that block, I was watching the game in my Philadelphia apartment, And I was living in a lower ceiling room at that time in my apartment complex. I jumped off my couch in my living room, and I thought I was about to hit my head on the ceiling. That was an unbelievable block. It's a great one that you bring up down 3-1. What was a moment in sports that made you just jump out of your chair and go crazy, Botcher?
As a New York sports fan, there's not memorable ones, but that entire series, it wasn't just that game. Just everything in that series you could jump out of your chair
Game
for.
6 was awesome with what LeBron and Kyrie did. Samter, is there one moment where you just jumped out?
Oh, yeah. Matto. I just remember jumping up, and I jumped off. We had one of those massage chairs from Brookstone that we still actually have to this day, 20 years later.
Oh, really?
I did a full headfirst dive from the arm of that chair onto my couch, and I rolled around like a little monkey.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah, that moment was to me nothing better.
Other choke job in sports. So Samter brings up Chris Webber. I bring up the Atlanta Falcons. Botcher brings up the Golden State Warriors. Greg Norman in the 1996 Masters, up 6 strokes entering the last round on Sunday, and he ends up losing by 5. It's one thing to gag that away. To end up losing the tournament by 5 is crazy. Yankees, Red Sox. Yankees in the 04 ALCS up 3-0. Red Sox not only come on back, they end up breaking the curse of the following few weeks later, beating the Cardinals in the World Series, coming back from down 3-0. In my lifetime, the Mets, they're up 7 with 17 to play. In 2007, they choked it up. And then the Philadelphia Phillies in the fold of 64. And back then, right, you win and you're in the World Series, you win the pennant, and they were leading the entire way. And I think they're up 6.5 games with 12 to play. And they lost 10 straight games. And they ended up not winning. They even had the program ready to go, right? Phillies in the World Series, in the Fall Classic. And obviously never got there as the fold to 64 did occur. So those are some memories. I did have the Cavs Warriors jotted down, but since Botcher did it, it was a good answer. I like that answer from Ryan Botcher. All righty, we'll take a break here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, we'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's start off here in Tom Brady on Fox yesterday, make his debut in the Fox broadcast booth for the UFL title game. Listen up, TB12.
Bringing a little instant offense. You know him, you love him. Tom Brady, legendary quarterback, just had his number retired.
I can't go down there on the field anymore.
You can't play anymore? No. He's joining us here at Fox Sports. I'm sure you have heard as an analyst this fall. Can't wait to see him. So far, what are your impressions of this early going championship game? Sometimes teams can be a little bit tight. It looks like it may be right here.
They're all a little different.
Yeah.
You get into these games, and there's a lot of defense out there right now. You see defense can go out there and play with a lot of energy, but someone's got to get the ball down the field and try to open this field up a little bit. It's a lot of horizontal passes, and the defenders are swarming and trying to punch the ball out. So make them defend every blade of grass. That's what we said.
Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert for the UFL. I'm not going to tell you I really tuned into this. But the clips that I saw, I don't think there's any, monster takeaway from this. But Brady sounded smooth and comfortable in the booth. And also, when you saw Brady in the booth, he kind of looked larger than life. And it just felt like it was a big-time feel for a game that I give a rat's ass about. And I don't know about you, Samter. I kind of looked at Tom Brady and was like, kind of looks very presidential. Like what a president should look like instead of some of the options that we've had over the last few years, let's just say.
No, he definitely has he's a very classy guy. He's got a very classy demeanor about him. But I think as we've seen since he's retired, he's opened up a little bit, cursing a little bit more at the roast, having fun, telling jokes. I want to see some of that come out. Not the cursing part, but just like the fun Tom Brady.
If you curse on a broadcast?
Yeah, sure.
I think it makes a good, fun moment. I don't know if the executives will love it.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be great, especially when he sees the next
about the children?
tuck plate. The next tuck play where a team gets screwed by a terrible call that the rules need to be changed just for that rule. Then
who you are?
He can curse.
You know who you are? Can I make a comparison between you and an athlete?
Tell me.
You're Kyrie Irving.
Uh-huh.
What the Celtics have meant to Kyrie Irving is what the Patriots have meant to you. Where their success and things that have happened with both those teams own a lot of real estate in your cabeza, just like the Celtics own a lot of real estate in the cabeza of Kyrie Irving.
I mean, when you cheat multiple times and then you win your first Super Bowl because a rule was terrible, they actually had to change the rule because it was so bad, and you benefited from the bad part of the rule. Then of course I'm gonna complain a little bit. I mean, I did enjoy being at that game that Tom Brady first came in when Mo Lewis smashed Drew Brees out of bounds. That was awesome.
You enjoyed that?
Yeah, I enjoyed that
Bledsoe,
because I was at that game and I got to really enjoy Drew Brees just getting smashed by Mo Lewis.
You mean Drew Bledsoe?
Drew Bledsoe. What did I say? Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, 6 times.
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, see, that's how much real estate the Patriots own in Santer's head. He then thinks it was Drew Brees that got hit instead of Drew Bledsoe. See, there's something about the Patriots that overtake the body of Michael Samter, that he just can't formulate sentence, and he can't make any sense when he talks about the Patriots, and he just keeps on digging himself in a deeper hole. Okay, let's continue. We go to Sir Charles Barkley. This is after Game 4 of the NBA Finals, where the Mavs finally got on the board, and now they're down 3-1. We'll have Game 5 tonight. This is courtesy of NBA TV. This is Charles Barkley announcing his retirement from television at the end of next year.
No matter what happens, next year is going to be my last year on television. And I just want to say thank you to my NBA family. You guys been great to me. My heart is full with joy and gratitude. But I'm going to pass the baton at the end of next year. I hope the NBA stays with TNT. But for me personally, I wanted you guys to hear from me. I'm going to pass the baton to either Jamal Crawford or Vince Carter or you, Steve. But next year, I'm going to just retire after 25 years, and I just want to say thank you, and I wanted y'all to hear from me first.
Yes or no? We'll go around the room. Just give me a yes or no. Botcher, you believe that Charles Barkley is going to retire at the end of next year?
Yes.
Samter, do you believe it?
From doing game broadcast, yes.
I don't know. I thought the same thing when I saw that after Game 5. Okay. He doesn't want to go work for another network. I don't think TNT is going to retain the NBA. If they did, though, I still think he's doing inside the NBA. But this could be a negotiation tactic where he likes what he's hearing so far, but he wants someone to make him a Godfather offer. Now, I do agree with some point what Samter said from doing the studio show, being on before and after the games, maybe. I do believe Charles will resurface somewhere and get a mega podcast deal. Let's go to Kyrie Irving. He calls out Celtics, this Boston Celtics franchise and expectations.
You have to show your respects here, and I think that's what I struggled with initially, was figuring out how I'm going to be a great player here while winning championships, while also leading a team, and selflessly joining the Celtics organization or the cult that they have here. And that's what they expect you to do as a player. They expect you to seamlessly buy into the Celtics pride, buy into everything Celtics, and if you don't, then you'll be outed. And I'm one of the people that's on the outs. I'm perfectly fine with that. You know what I mean? I did it to myself. They don't welcome me in with warm embrace, even though I know a lot of people in the organization.
Oh, because you acted like a jackass when you were in Boston. You lied all through your teeth. That's why. It's not like Celtics fans wanted you to stay. Celtics fans wanted you. You were there, and then you messed up your opportunity, and you blame everybody else. This shows you Kyrie Irving really has had no growth. None. He tells you how much he changed for the finals. He tried to issue a mea culpa with how everything went down. He controls his emotions better. After Game 1, he acted in a stupid way. After Game 2, he acted in a stupid way. And after Game 4, you finally win, he acted in a stupid way as well. The Celtics just own real estate in his cabeza. And it's amazing how much real estate the Celtics own in his head. He just can't say that he was wrong. He's incapable of doing it. He's incapable of saying, oh, I got this wrong. The cult of the Celtics fan, every fan base has a passionate fan base. All right? That's what makes sports fun. You have a passionate fan base. They demand championships. And it's not like they hated you because you didn't win a championship there. They hated you because you said, oh, I'll stay here as long as you guys want me here. And then you tried to stab that team in the back because you were insecure. Here's Kyrie on handling the Boston crowd.
I think in order to silence even the self-doubt, let alone the crowd doubt, but the self-doubt, when you make or miss shots, that's just as important as making sure that I'm leading the team in the right way and being human through this experience too, and telling them how I feel. I try to pay attention to the positive things that got us wins here early in my career, and then also thinking about the things I can learn from throughout the performances that I've had here where I didn't play up to par. So just being honest about it, and then also breathing through the experience and having fun with it.
How can anyone take his answer serious on how he handles the Boston crowd? He fails to handle the Boston crowd. Every turn he goes. That's amazing. It really is. That would be like me when I was a crappy math student trying to say, this is how you handle to try to find something with triangles or whatever math equation or things like that. Like, I'd be the last person to try to give advice on that. I sucked at math. Kyrie, you suck at handling the Boston crowd. Stop trying to give advice. Jeez Louise. Here is Caitlin Clark on Angel Reese's flagrant foul yesterday, where Angel Reese was trying to block Caitlin Clark. It ended up swiping Caitlin Clark's head.
It's just a part of basketball. It is what it is. She's trying to make a play on the ball and get the block. But yeah, I mean, it happens. And those free throws when you have to shoot them with nobody at the line are kind of hard. So
she answers every question just the right way. And she has tried to not make this about Caitlin and Angel. Naturally, that's just going to happen anyway. But here is Angel Reese on her foul on Caitlin Clark, and she actually said Caitlin Clark's getting pretty much some preferential treatment. Listen up.
It's a basketball play. I can't control the refs. They affected the game, obviously, a lot tonight. So, I'm always going for the ball, but y'all going to play that clip, 20 times before Monday. So, it's cool. I think we went up really strong a lot of times, and we didn't get a lot of calls. And going back at looking at the film, I've seen a lot of calls that weren't made. I guess some people got a special whistle, but just being able to play hard as best as we can.
So she committed a foul. That was a flagrant foul. It's not every time something like that happens, we have to have like this serious conversation. That happens all the time in basketball, where a player commits a flagrant foul. But then the audacity of Angel Reese afterwards to basically say, some people get a special whistle, and we all know she's talking about Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese, she tries to play like she's always getting the short end of the stick. Like she's always getting screwed over in these cases. Like, give me a break. Seriously, give me a break. You can't have it both ways. She loves when she gets praised, but then she hates when she gets criticized, and she can't handle when she does get criticized. Here's Tristan Cassis of the Red Sox. Listen to this last night. This was some interview. Usually these in-game interviews on Sunday Night Baseball are a waste of time, especially because Carl Ravitch has like no personality. But I will say they did a good job with this one. And listen to what the Red Sox player had to say.
So I'm in coach pitch, and I'm so young. I don't really know what's going on at this point still. I'm still just playing baseball just to burn calories and get out there and get some sun. Right. And, I get out one day, and I come back to the dugout crying, pissed, and, that's what a 6-year-old does. He sits on the bench, and he cries, and he doesn't want to go out there when, his team's playing defense. So my dad, being the dad that he is, trying to teach me the lessons that he did in his own special way, came into the dugout. He actually grabbed me by my shirt, dragged me to the line, and Looney Tunes style kicked me out onto the field. And actually had one of my best friends that I went to high school with later. He ended up playing pro ball. His mom actually called child services on my dad, had him arrested at the field. No, for real. This is no joke. At the field, I see my dad go away in the cop car, gets arrested, sent the night to jail.
You're
But
kidding.
that day, my dad taught me a super valuable lesson that not a lot of people know, and it's that I had a responsibility to my teammates, I had a responsibility to my coaches, to the parents that showed up that day, all the fans who were at that Little League game, whatever it may be, to go out there and give my best effort no matter how I was feeling on the bench, no matter what I was going through that day, or whatever little hardship that I was feeling when I got out, that I still apply every single time, because sometimes I just want to sit down on this bench after I get out, and I want to weep and I want to cry, but that's not how baseball is. So I love my dad to death. I wouldn't have this opportunity without him, but funny little excerpt. That's the type of guy my dad is.
So we'll play a new game here on the show. Karen or not a Karen? Was the lady in the stands of that Little League game, was she a Karen and maybe overreacted a little bit, Samson?
I mean, I guess it depends on how the kick was, but yeah, that sounds Karenish to me.
Botcher?
Depends on how much airtime Casas got going back from the field. And if it's over 2 seconds, yes, you call it cops. But if it's just like a little love
if
tap,
it was like, hey, get your ass out there and you give like a gentle
like a shove
kind of push, okay, I'm fine with it.
If he's like,
if he was dragging him by the back of the shirt like through the mud and the dirt on the baseball diamond and yelling in his face, a little bit different.
Yeah,
but it seems like he didn't really have a big problem.
If he was going out to left field from the first base dugout, that's a big issue. But it doesn't seem like it was.
Hey, Dad, I'm a first baseman, not a right fielder. Why'd you throw me out there in right field? Yeah, okay. Then I can understand. Finally, here's Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy choking things up at the U.S. Open, failing to win his first major championship since 2014.
Rory's one of the best to ever play. And being able to fight against a great like that is pretty special. For him to miss that putt, I'd never wish it on anybody. It just happened to play out that way, and he'll win multiple more major championships. There's no doubt, and I think that fire in him is going to continue to grow. And I have nothing but respect for how he plays the game of golf. Because to be honest, when he was climbing up the leaderboard and he was 2 ahead, I was like, uh oh. But luckily, things went my way today.
All right, there you go. Bryson DeChambeau wins the U.S. Open yesterday. Rory McIlroy, after he finished up 13, was up 2 strokes. And you also had Bryson bogeying on 12, and he was 8 under, and Bryson was 6 under. And we know Rory collapsed on 16 and 18, just missing 2 putts that you just cannot afford to miss if you're trying to win a major championship. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Klay Thompson has unfollowed the Golden State Warriors on social media. Will Klay Thompson be back in the Bay Area? I'll give you my answer when we return. Update time first. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the champagne remains on ice for the Celtics, who failed to complete the sweep of the Mavericks Friday and will host Dallas tonight with a chance to wrap up their 18th title, and they can do it on their home floor where they're 45-6 this year. Boston isn't the easiest place to play because of high expectations, and the fans and media aren't always patient, but Jaylen Brown has embraced all of that.
It's definitely a blessing to be here, to represent the Celtics, my family, organization, the community, a greater community. It's an honor that I don't take lightly. So just to come out every night, to play for something, for what I represent, I think that matters.
The Mavericks' 38-point win Friday, the third largest margin of victory in finals history, with both teams resting their starters in the fourth quarter. Kristaps Porzingis hopeful of playing tonight after missing the last 2 games with an ankle injury. The Yankees' Garrett Cole will make his season debut on Wednesday against the Orioles. He has been out with an elbow injury. Trey Turner returns after missing the last 6 weeks with a strained hamstring, as the Phillies back in action tonight. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Samter, by the way, was yesterday your first Father's Day?
Second, but first Father's Day cookout at my new place.
Okay, I remember we were talking about the big Father's Day weekend that you were supposed to have. I approve of what you cooked yesterday. I thought your burgers looked good. What were those, skirt steaks?
London broil.
Okay, they look good. I couldn't tell. The only thing I was confused about, the two critiques I have, and I also don't like criticism of food pictures because there's a lot of times people post things that don't look good, but like it tastes delicious. I thought your French fries could have been a little bit more well done, if I'm being honest. I thought they were undercooked. Was that chicken that was involved? Barbecue chicken?
It was chicken. It was very thinly sliced.
Yeah.
I think we may have gotten chicken cutlets that were a little bit too thin.
Oh, okay.
I like it a little bit thicker, and then I can fillet it and then marinate it from there. But we got the pre-thin slices. They were so thin, it was like paper.
I thought it was fish at first. I'm not going to lie.
You thought it was what?
I thought it was fish.
Yeah, it honestly kind of looked, I mean, it tasted good, but it was just too thin. You don't get any kind of flavor to it. It was good. It was good flavor, but I like a little bit more thickness than what we had. The thin slice is just a little bit too thin for me.
So was it your wife or your idea? Adorable photo I saw of you and your baby gal. You were dressed up how would you describe the outfits you were wearing?
Yeah, like a black and blue Hawaiian.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah, all three of us had the same outfit on.
Whose idea was it?
I mean, come on.
I think it was your idea. I don't think it's your wife's idea.
No, it wasn't my idea, but I
It was the
100%
missus'?
signed off on it without begrudgingly or without any kind of complaint. I had no issue. And then we went to a restaurant downtown. We had some crepes, sat outside, had some ice cream, and
I'm not going to lie.
Just too cute.
I thought it was an announcement that you were having another kid. Because when I first saw the photo, it was like me and my girls, and there was like no other girl in the photo. And I realized that you meant your wife had it as well, but I was like investigating the photo at first, and I'm like, is he holding a picture maybe or something? Like, is there another kid on the way? Baby number 2? That's what I assumed at first.
Well, it was a picture of my daughter hugging me, and it looked like she was holding my stomach. So maybe, who knows? maybe I got something brewing down here. He's going to be a soccer player.
I thought, I'm like, is Santa's dog a girl? Like, I was trying to see like in the photo where the other girl was, and I'm like, oh, he definitely means that it was his wife. Why didn't you guys take like a family selfie or have someone take a picture of?
We did. I have 250 pictures from yesterday, but that picture of my daughter sitting on the chair next to me at the restaurant and just hugging me for like 10 minutes. I couldn't not post that.
Wait. So you guys did cookout and then you went to another restaurant?
No, we
just
did
dessert.
No, we did restaurant for lunch. We did cookout actually for dinner. So we did restaurant around noon, hung out there for like an hour, had some crepes, had some brunch, got some ice cream, walked around town, went to the park, and then later on, after the day was done, we cooked out.
I had a good gluttonous weekend. So I golfed on Saturday, and then afterwards, my buddy's house has a pool, so we were all drinking, had a bunch of people over. Man, the barbecue. Pasta pesto season is back. Oh, I had great pasta pesto. Had a hot dog. There was burgers. All different kinds of burgers. They were like delicious. Then there was some chicken as well. And then the dessert. I forget what kind of cake it was, but that was scrumptious, I will say. And then yesterday, pigs in the blanket. My mom and my dad cooked up, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then we had filet mignon wrapped in bacon, and they made some like home fries, like they made these like the homemade home fries, which were pretty damn good. And then I don't even remember what we had for dessert yesterday. Oh, my uncle wanted a pound cake, so we had a pound cake with strawberries and homemade whipped cream, which was definitely delicious. So
you went to Pound Town.
Why do you have to make everything? I'm sorry.
Pound cake.
Just pound cake.
Yeah, it's pound cake.
Well, why do you got to ruin Father's Day here?
You're the one who went that route.
You went to Pound Town. Come on. Botcher, what did you have yesterday? Any good food?
We went to Applebee's. I had Cajun.
Half off apps?
No, it wasn't. I'm not going at 10 o'clock at night.
Why not?
On Father's Day?
No, yeah, that's true.
That's crazy. I had Cajun grilled chicken with some shrimp.
Ooh.
Applebee's underrated.
I've been
love
to
me.
Applebee's in a long time.
Me neither. Man, I love me some Applebee's.
That was like a high school spot, half off apps. That was always big when you were in high school. That was like once when you were like younger, when you were like middle school, maybe 9th grade, it would always be like, oh, you go to movies or something. Eventually going to half off apps at Applebee's. That was always a big time thing. But you know what? Where I grew up, you want to hear something crazy? I didn't know this until afterwards. I was in college. Right next to the childhood Applebee's in the same parking lot, about, 25 feet away, there's a strip club on Long Island. I never knew that when I was in high school. And then in college, we realized that there was a gentleman's club. So no wonder why all the parents enjoyed, all the dads enjoyed driving their kids on Friday night to half off apps, and then they probably all went missing for a while from their significant others.
Man, Dad's been in the bathroom for like 45 minutes. What's going on?
Where'd he go?
It happens all the time at home, but never at the restaurant.
Went across the street with the $20 bill. He had about 5-minute lap dance. Anyway, Klay Thompson unfollowed the Golden State Warriors on social media. Klay Thompson's about to be a free agent, and he took a bunch of pictures down of him on the Warriors. Here's Draymond Green and the Draymond Green Show via The Volume on Klay unfollowing the Golden State Warriors.
I know all of you were probably looking forward to me talking about Klay unfollowing the Warriors and deleting some IG posts or something. I had no idea that happened. I think it's hilarious. Just so y'all know, I laugh when I logged on here and Jackson's like, yo, so what about Clay? I'm like, what? Like, what happened? It's like, oh, he unfollowed the Warriors. I think that's comical. I know you all be wanting like somebody's feelings to be hurt or something. It ain't that. Ain't never going to be that. That's hilarious.
I think it's sad. I don't think it's hilarious. I think Klay Thompson unfollowing the Golden State Warriors is petulant and really unnecessary. Even if this is a divorce that's happening, it doesn't need to be contentious. Everyone loves Klay. Klay is a 4-time NBA champion, but the Warriors need to learn from their mistake because they could have got out of business with Draymond Green last year. They elected not to do so. Instead, they reward him with a 4-year contract worth $100 million, and they paid a player based off his past and not what he'll do in the future, and that's already a mistake. And Golden State this time around, they can't overpay just for the memory's sake of Klay Thompson. If Klay wants to take a significant discount, then there's a spot for him in the Bay Area. But if he's all about getting the most money, and that's his right, and he's allowed to do so, and I won't fault him for that, then Golden State has to have the cojones to say, Klay, we're not going to bring you back. Because you can't afford to waste the rest of Steph Curry's career. Draymond Green's no longer a championship player at the price tag that he gets. Klay Thompson, if he gets a mega deal, he's no longer a championship player. The Warriors and what is affecting them from not trying to be competitive to go win another title, and it's the reason why Bob Myers retired, because he didn't have the heart to say goodbye to guys that won for him. But this new regime, and even still the Lacob family, they got to make difficult decisions. And you can't pay people based off the past. You have to pay people based off the future, and people that pay off the past don't end up continue their winning ways. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Steve Stans will join us 25 minutes from now to talk about everything that happened to the U.S. Open over the weekend. But when we come on back, athletes who were loved and also hated in their careers off Bryson DeChambeau yesterday winning the U.S. Open.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, Samter, you probably feel this way working with me, but I'm starting to get more and more of these moments. There's moments in my life that I just get to start to feel like very old. Like, one of those was when the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy in the draft this year, and they're like, oh, he was born in 2003. I'm like, man, that makes me feel old as a talk show host and a sports fan, and I'm not that old. I'm 29. I turned 30 in August. But I just saw a post from our buddy Jordan Schultz, who does a great job covering the NFL. He just posted a photo of Jerome Bettis, Ike Taylor, and Plaxico Burress. And they are all with their sons, who all committed to play football at Notre Dame. That is wild. Plaxico, Ike Taylor, and Jerome Bettis all have kids that have now committed to go to Notre Dame. That's a moment in life, Samter, where I'm like, man, I'm starting to get pretty old. That's just the way that I feel about that. That is surreal.
The crazy thing to me is that that's happened to me about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, so
I probably just made you feel old once again.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys like going into the Hall of Fame whose dads I remember watching, basically.
That's kind of crazy.
Right? Like
Why?
that kind of stuff.
Why? Who's one of those players?
I mean, Griffey's one of them.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right? So there's a few guys, and then you got like, you know, I wasn't around for Archie, but I kind of tail end of that side of it. So like the Manning brothers, just like all of this.
You really are ancient.
The Matthewses, you know, Clay Matthews and Bruce Matthews. I was around for Bruce Matthews. And
Joey Porter has a kid whose son's in the NFL.
You know, Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's a lot of guys.
Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, we've seen Frank Gore Jr. and obviously Emmitt Smith's son was playing in college ball. Bronny James. Like, I remember
Jerry
when
Rice's son is now in the NFL.
I remember when LeBron James was coming into the league, and I was like an old grizzled veteran at that point.
An old grizzled veteran.
And now his son is about to get drafted, potentially.
For some reason, Jerome Bettis, and I was never a Steelers fan, obviously rooting for the Patriots, but I always respected Jerome Bettis. There's just certain players that you grow up that even though you aren't a fan of their team, you just grow a liking for. And one of those players was Jerome Bettis. Just always a great personality, a great iconic smile too, and someone that just played the game in a very fun, bruising kind of way for his position. And just a great nickname too that also helps with the bus. So that was just one of the, Ike Taylor, Plaxico Burress doesn't, I don't know if it was just them two, okay, is what it is. But seeing Jerome Bettis in there too, it's like, okay, he's a kid now going to Notre Dame. That's just absolutely wild. All righty, yesterday we saw Bryson DeChambeau, who it really started at the PGA Championship when he finished second. And he had that tremendous moment of class where he walked up to, when he probably thought he was going to go to a playoff, or there was a chance he was going to go to a playoff, and he walked up to Xander Schauffele and he gave him a hug as Xander Schauffele won his first major championship. And then a month later, Bryson DeChambeau, right, is your leader by 3 strokes heading into the U.S. Open on Sunday. And for a while, he was 2 back, where it was after 13, where Rory's 8 under and Bryson 6 under. Rory chokes. And it wasn't like anyone did anything incredibly well on Sunday. It was there for the taking. I had a bet $25 to win $1,500 on Patrick Cantlay. And it's not like Patrick Cantlay did anything outstanding. But even there was a moment, if he didn't bogey late, where he could have been 1 stroke off the lead, and maybe he could have found his way into the playoff. But the moment where Bryson did something outstanding, and it's wild, because there were so many moments yesterday where Bryson DeChambeau would hit the ball far left, would hit the ball far right, and you were like, here he comes, he's about to crumble. Like, he is about to implode. But because of how far he hits the ball, from a distance standpoint, even if it goes way left or way right, it makes it easier, even with tough lies, for him to recover because he's so close to the freaking pin with how far he hits the ball off the tee. But Bryson yesterday in the sand on 18, and DeChambeau puts the ball right next to the jar and then taps it in to go win and avoid the playoff. That was a great moment. And for Bryson DeChambeau, it's one thing to win another major championship, a second of the career, being once again a U.S. Open. But when he first got onto the scene, I think we were all blown away by the video game quality of Bryson DeChambeau to hit the ball as far as he did, right? He's a big bomber. And to see that, and then how quickly people turned on him because of his own wrongdoing and his own petulance and his own immaturity, with having to, he basically had a fight with Brooks Koepka, and then anytime fans would say, to get in his head, oh, let's go Brooksy, to DeChambeau, he would get the fans kicked out. And DeChambeau kind of was immature, and he kind of came off as a jerk. And there's no doubt about it. But the last 2 tournaments, last major tournaments, not only has he played really well, being 20-something under par in the PGA and then winning the U.S. Open, but he has been more humbled, and he's been easier to relate to. And you forget that he's only 30 years old. I've matured a lot from my late 20s, to where I am now. Same with Bryson DeChambeau, too. It's just natural part of life, where things that used to get so caught up in, when you get older, you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. And you learn to be more of a professional. You do. So for Bryson DeChambeau yesterday, to see the ups and downs of his career, where at first it's like, wow, this is just ridiculous in terms of how far he can hit the ball. Then, oh, he gets in the kerfuffle with Brooks Koepka. He becomes the villain of the sport. And we'll bring on Steve Sands coming up in 12 minutes or so, who brought this up the last time we had him. He's like, everyone needs a villain in sports. And he's like, I think Bryson's more of a beloved villain. And since that was kind of taken away from us in the traditional standpoint of golf because of Live Golf, I think what it showed at the PGA Championship, what Sandsy said, is that people just miss seeing him. But I think it's more than that. Because Bryson, we want big personalities in golf, but they're rare because of how serious and buttoned up these golfers are because the game's so mental. But to see the emotions of Bryson just giving a fist pump. Like, how great was Tiger whenever he would give a fist pump? And you would see he would wear his emotions on his sleeves. Just giving a fist pump. Or even when he missed the putt yesterday that almost went in and he fell to the ground. Like, that's just cool theatrics. It is. And for Bryson yesterday, before the round, during the round, after the round, just to be enjoying himself and interacting with fans, it was very much appreciated. So Bryson went from someone we were enamored by to then someone that we hated to now he's being back into the good graces of golf fans. So it's rare in sports that you have an athlete that in their entire career can be like universally beloved and also universally hated. And Bryson, who's only 30 years old and has a lot of golf left, has already gone through the ringer of that, of being someone that was liked, then someone that was hated, and now someone that is beloved again. And people beloved Bryson DeChambeau. So let's go around the room here. We'll incorporate Botcher and Moist Mike as well, and obviously yours truly. Who's an athlete in your lifetime that was hated and also beloved? For me, it was Alex Rodriguez. And I'm not really big into saying that steroid guys don't belong in the Hall of Fame and all that. Like, I think A-Rod should be a Hall of Famer. I think Bond should be a Hall of Famer. I think Clemens should be a Hall of Famer. And go on and on and on. I don't want to ignore that era of history. But a lot of people loved A-Rod when he was with Seattle. Then with the Rangers, right, they were going to trade him. A lot of us thought he was going to end up in Boston. And then he ends up with the Yankees and goes to third base and Jeter's at shortstop. Like, A-Rod always had a good smile, right? Always was like larger than life. For most of his career, played shortstop until getting into the Yankees. Like, he was just one of those players that when you were growing up, in my era, when people were growing up, you always knew of Alex Rodriguez, and you're always like, wow, I would love to be like A-Rod on a baseball diamond when you're playing Little League. But then, with the steroid stuff, the lying, the suspension, the lack of accountability, Alex Rodriguez's image went right down the drain, and no one ever thought he was going to recover. But with being on TV, admitting his mistakes, and also right now being a minority owner, and we'll see what ends up happening there with the Minnesota Timberwolves, we are very forgiving. And if there was a time where people used to love you and then they hate you, they're asking for reasons to love you once again. And I'm not going to say A-Rod is loved once again, but I think there's a lot more people that like A-Rod now once again who couldn't stand his guts for all those years. So for me, Alex Rodriguez, you went to the extreme of loving him and then also to the extreme of hating him. And it's rare when you go through the roller coaster ride of life nationally, when we talk about sports, that you could be at one time be the game's biggest star and then also be the game's biggest villain and be one of the game's more popular players and then also the game's, one of the more hated and despised players and detest players. And A-Rod's been through all those emotions. So for me, it's Alex Rodriguez. Botcher, who do you got cooking today?
So I'm going different sport, kind of a different era.
What sport?
Basketball.
Basketball. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this player was the chosen one, as they would say, coming out of high school. Same state, Ohio, Akron to Cleveland. And then he was loved for his first tenure there. He decides to move away from the big three in Miami, and everybody hates him. LeBron James, despised by me, I think the entire country.
Wait, you hated LeBron for the decision?
Well, young version, like 10-year-old me hated LeBron, or 11-year-old me.
But you weren't a Cavs fan, right?
No, I just didn't like him.
Okay.
I saw the competitiveness go down the drain, so that's why I was kind of happy when the Mavs won and then the Spurs won. So LeBron couldn't have an insane dynasty with the Heat. So it was kind of a warming moment, though, when he went back to Cleveland and said he wants to get one done with Kyrie and Kevin Love, and then he did in 2016. So the entire perspective of LeBron switched. So he was loved in Cleveland, hated by basically everyone that watched the NBA, and then loved again. But now he's kind of blah. You either hate him for his drama or his PR.
Pitching to officials.
Yeah, everything. LaCroix, everything.
LaCroix.
There's something about LeBron.
What's that seltzer brand? LaCroix?
LaCroix.
They should get LeBron to endorse that.
He's got the Sprite deal, too. So Sprite Cranberry with LeBron. But LeBron is the epitome of love to hate. So he's going back towards kind of hate now with how he's doing the head coaching search of the Lakers and Bronny and all this. So he'll be back on the hate train soon.
So when I look at LeBron, you're right. everyone, he was like larger than life when he gets to the Cavs. I think the reason why people hated him wasn't because he went to Miami, it's how he went to Miami. And the irony is, that was an event for the Boys and Girls Club that raised a lot of money. But it was leaving the Cavs at the altar and doing that, I take my talent to South Beach, and then forming the super team and getting up there at the press conference, you direct your press conference, not 1, not 2, not 3, 7 or 8. But then him going back to Cleveland and winning that championship, it's one of the more memorable championships of my lifetime. So you are right, it's a good one. There were people that love LeBron, and then there's obviously people that hate LeBron. And there's been a bunch of different emotions when he's been like the most hated guy in the sport and then also the most beloved guy in the sport. Samter, who was your athlete here that was both beloved and hated?
I was making a list, and then there was one name that just came to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like Antonio Brown, T.O., Tiger, Conor McGregor, all guys who like we loved, and then they just
T.O.'s a good one.
Right? And remember when T.O. caught that touchdown for the 49ers in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And he was crying, and it was like, oh my gosh, this undrafted player, he's crying, he caught the touchdown, he's making this. Everyone loved T.O.
Or how about when he played in the Super Bowl, had to sign a waiver? And I don't usually give an MVP award to a player that lost the game, but I would have no problem to give the Super Bowl MVP to him in 39.
And Conor McGregor, that fall from grace where he's punching guys at bars or all these other things that he's doing.
Jackass.
Right. But for me, there's one answer. There was a guy who I think he was kind of basketball.
Okay.
He was appreciated, beloved, then disliked for how he handled his superstar teammate, then hated for what he did off the court.
Durant?
Then loved again once he retired, and posthumously beloved and revered and, whatever ever since. And that's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, when he was with the Lakers and he was young and he was a kid, people loved him. Then they hated how he pushed Shaq out, and people hated him for the Lakers and their dynasty. Then they hated him again for everything that happened in Colorado. Then they hated him again when he was, winning championships with Pau. Then once he retired and we saw that personality come out, and he had his daughters and all this stuff, he was just beloved. And obviously, after everything that happened, the way we look back on Kobe is a way that's in such reverence that I don't think that there was that much reverence ever during his life. And we look back at Kobe in a way now that he is going to go down as one of the most legendary characters and people in all of NBA history, I think.
So many players are inspired by Kobe Bryant. That's a big part of it. We're now like, this generation of NBA stardom all revered Kobe Bryant and looked up to Kobe Bryant. But you were right. He was loved. He was hated. He had to restore his image with, everything the allegations of what happened in Colorado and, his marriage. And, it's still crazy. It's surreal to talk about Kobe in the past tense with how many times he made people happy on a basketball court where he just wanted to be the best version of himself as being a dad, after he retired. And it's crazy how he got, it's still surreal that he got robbed from that and still the impact that he made on so many people's life. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout. We will recap the U.S. Open with Steve Sands, NBC Sports and the Golf Channel. We come on back in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. U.S. Open in the books. Bryson DeChambeau, who came up just short at the PGA Championship, he gets the job done yesterday at Pinehurst as he once again wins another major championship. And the story of Bryson DeChambeau is kind of crazy with all the emotions, how we were all blown away when he first got onto the scene. Then a lot of people hated him, and now back in the good graces of the golf fan. Let's go out to the guest line and welcome a man who was all over the U.S. Open coverage for NBC Sports and also the Golf Channel. He, of course, is Steve Sands, who's kind enough to join us right now. Sandsy, happy belated Father's Day. Thanks so much for joining us today. How you been, my man?
Appreciate you, Zach. Thank you so much. All is good, man. That was a heck of a Sunday at the U.S. Open, man. Wow.
Yeah, it really was. From a media coverage standpoint, and you following storylines, what's the storyline that jumps out to you the most with Bryson DeChambeau winning it all?
Oh, man. It depends, Zach. Do you think that Rory lost it or Rory lost it or Bryson won it? It's tough. I don't know. Bryson was the best player over 4 days. He was so good Zach, Saturday night, he finished with a couple of late birdies to give himself that 3-shot cushion. And that 3-shot cushion, was really tested because he drove the ball terribly yesterday. So Bryson's great, man. He has a game plan. He sticks to it. He executes it well, never wavers, is aggressive, plays to win, loves the fans, loves the limelight. He is a special, special player for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Bryson because it never felt like Rory should have been up by 2 strokes. And after he walked off 13 and Bryson bogeyed 12, he was 8 under, and Bryson was 6 under. And he went on that incredible run where he birdied 4 out of 5 holes. But, man, to be that close for Rory and then how he lost, I do think most people remember this U.S. Open, as great as the Bryson storyline is, for how Rory choked that one away on 16 and 18.
Yeah, I think that if it's possible that 2 things can be true at once, Zach, Bryson won it, and he's a deserving winner, and he was the best player over the course of 4 days. But Rory also, gave that one away. That was a very tough finish for Rory. And, look, in team sports, you say, the window's closing, this, that, and the other thing. The window's not closing on Rory. Rory's going to be perfectly fine, and he's going to give himself more opportunities to win majors. But when you're 2 up on 15T and you lose by 1 in regulation to a guy who did not birdie one of the last 4 holes, that's a very, very tough pill to swallow and a brutal finish for Rory.
And I wonder how he recovers mentally because he knows he hasn't won a championship, a major championship since 2014. You missed the putt on 16, it happens, but then to not even be close on 18, that was, to me, the more egregious one. Like 16 I thought was bad luck. 18 it just seemed like he was just mentally fried at that point.
Yeah, you have to figure, Zach, without getting into his head, you have to figure that when he stood over the putt on 18, he had to be thinking a little bit about what happened at 16. So, it all kind of comes together. I don't know, man. How does he recover from this? I mean, this is what makes professional athletes so tough, so great. How do they react to adversity? Everything's great when things are going well and you're winning and you're playing well and that kind of stuff. When you really find out about somebody is through adversity in all facets of life, and especially in sports. So I think we're going to find out very quickly what Rory's made of. We're going to find out very, very quickly. And I hope he recovers, and I hope he goes and wins the next one next month at Royal Troon and gets it out of his mind. But you have to figure this one hurts more than anything that's ever happened to him on a golf course has ever hurt.
Did you have a problem with him getting in that car right after it ended and not talking to the media?
Yeah, that was a mistake. More so not staying and shaking Bryson's hand. That's professionalism. That's sports, Zach. You know that. It's fine and great to be Mr. Nice Guy when you're playing well and you win. But, you need to be gracious in defeat. You need to, be gracious when you lose. And Jack was the greatest major champion of all time. He was also the greatest loser of all time. You've got to shake his hand, tip the cap to him. That's sports. Imagine, tomorrow night if Florida beats Edmonton in Game 5 in some bizarre fashion, heartbreaking fashion for Edmonton, like an own goal or something, bizarre at the end, and there's no handshake line. Are you kidding me? That's not hockey. That's not sports. When golf, you take your hat off, you tip your cap to the winner, and you shake his hand. And that didn't happen yesterday. And I think Rory, not that he would like to take that back, but I think he understands that was not his best moment. And talking to the media, you got to stand up there and take it. Again, it's easy to do it when you win, Zach. You really find out what someone's all about when they do that in defeat. And I think it was a mistake. It's not a death penalty or anything like that on McIlroy, but I do think that that's something that he should not have done. And I think he knows that.
Yeah, and you also look back at the PGA Championship when Bryson thought he was maybe going to a playoff. He went out of his way to go give Xander Schauffele a hug. Correct. As that was wrapping up.
Lost by 1, heartbreaking fashion. Ended up shaking his hand, tipping the cap to him. That's sports. Look, tonight, if the series ends tonight, in Game 5 in Boston, they'll shake hands. If they don't shake hands, they'll get crap forever.
I don't know if Kyrie will. I don't know. I think Kyrie may dip out early with that Boston crowd.
Depending on the score of the game, Kyrie might be one of those guys who ducks out early, like Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons. But I think that people remember that. People remember that moment when the Pistons turn their back. And that kind of thing. People know that. It's happened in sports before, and people get over it. It's not a big deal. In golf, imagine in tennis. Imagine you don't like that a call was made that really went against you, or you made an unforced error and you lost in heartbreaking fashion, and you didn't run to the net, walk to the net, and shake hands with the winner. I mean, come on now, that's sports, man. You gotta man up, and I think Rory made a mistake yesterday. Again, it doesn't mean that he's not a good guy and that kind of thing, but I think that he would probably like to have that back. You gotta take it like a man when you lose like that.
Steve Sands here with us from NBC Sports and the Golf Channel. Getting back to Bryson, and I'm pretty much the same age as Bryson DeChambeau, and right, you grow up a lot when you get into your late 20s, your early 30s, and maybe you want some things back that have gone on in previous years. When he first got onto the scene, everyone was enamored by him, Sandsy, and then the whole Brooks incident, he did not handle that the right way, and he didn't treat the fans the right way. But to see the way he's grown professionally, just in the spotlight the last 2 months, I'm blown away by the maturity of one Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, it's interesting, Zach. I've known you your whole life, okay? And you are a much different person now than you were 5 years ago and 5 years before that, 5 years before that. What I think people don't remember about professional athletes is that they're kids.
Yeah.
They start out as kids, man. I mean, Zach, again, if you gave your dad, Bob, and me $100 million when we were 22 or 23.
You guys would be broke.
I believe there'd be some bad choices made. So, and some stupid things said and some stupid things done. And, come on, these guys are kids. And you've got to let them grow up. It's not easy. They are the ones who are in the limelight. They're the ones who are getting all the accolades. They're getting all the money. They're getting all the things thrown at them. But you've got to allow them to mature as individuals and grow up as people. And, Bryson certainly has made that leap in the last year. He is a different person now, a more mature person now, someone who understands things more now. And I think that all came out. He also loves the limelight, man.
Yeah.
He loves to perform. He loves the fans. He loves all that stuff. And he embraces it. Some people fight it. He doesn't. And it gives him a little bit of a freedom. And, boy, did that freedom come out this past week. He was awesome. Awesome.
And it was very fitting how it ended, because there was a little bit for a while, like the last hour, I'm like, is anyone going to go out there and really take this thing by the horns? And when he hit that shot out of the sand on 18, when a lot of us thought we were going to a playoff before that, man, what a big shot that was by Bryson.
The hardest shot in golf. Every single player will tell you that. Doesn't matter whether you're a 20 handicap or a professional. The hardest shot in golf is a long bunker shot. And I don't mean the fairway bunker shot like Sandy Lyle in 88 at the Masters. I mean the 50, 55, 60-yard bunker shot. He had a 55-yard bunker shot yesterday and hit it. I mean, my gosh, that's as good a shot as you'll ever see. It's a top 10, maybe top 5 shot of all time. Wow. I mean, to win a U.S. Open, put it 4 feet underneath the hole like that from that distance with that golf shot under that scenario and those circumstances, oh, man, that was a money shot. That was clutch. That was literally the definition of clutch.
And you know what's crazy, too? How many times I thought he was going to employ where he would send the ball far left, he would send the ball far right, but because of how far he hits the ball, it feels like it's just easier for him to recover when you hit the ball that far, even if it goes way left or way right.
Yeah, Pinehurst is one of those kind of courses where a lot of times in professional golf, and especially at Pinehurst, the wider you are, the better off. If you hit it just off the fairway, it might be worse than it is if you hit it outside of where the fans are standing. And I think he got a lot of breaks yesterday, and I think that's just part of sports. I said winning and losing is part of sports. So is luck. Sometimes you get the break, sometimes you don't. Rory got a terrible break on the 5th hole. He had 2 great shots, ended up with a bogey at the par 5 5th because his second shot, which was a great shot, just got a little unlucky, didn't climb the hill, and then all the way down into the natural sandy area and in kind of like a thumbprint, and he had no shot. and he ended up getting that bogey, and he lost by 1. You could do that all throughout the week, all throughout the 4 days, but, luck plays a part in sports. That's the way it works. And, he was on the wrong end of it yesterday, and Bryson was on the right end. Every time Bryson hit 5 fairways, Zach. 5 fairways at a U.S. Open on Sunday and ended up winning. Normally, that wouldn't be the case. But at Pinehurst, the rough is not like it will be at Oakmont or Wingfoot or Shinnecock or Pebble Beach. The rough's different. It's that sandy area, the natural sandy area. And he never really got himself in a horrible, horrible spot. And he recovered a bunch, and he was just great, man. He was so good yesterday.
Last thing I'll ask you. So going into this tournament, I picked 2 outright winners. It was Cantley and Matsuyama. I think I've bet on Cantley like in every major since 2019. I did take the Masters off this year on him, and also the PGA Championship off betting him. But with Cantley, man, I've been rooting for this guy to win a major for so long. I know it's tough to be disappointed with this performance. But on Sunday, when someone was begging for someone to go take this, man, I walked away a little disappointed with Patrick Cantley. How do you examine his play the last 4 days?
He was right there. The winning score was 6. At one point, he was 5 under. And he just didn't make any putts. If he makes any putts, and he putted so great, he's such a great putter. If he putted as well as he did the first couple days yesterday, if he putted yesterday as well as he did the first couple of days, he would have won. He just didn't connect. But his best major finish put him in the fray, and most people in golf will tell you, if you don't win one really, 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 really early in your career, it just takes time because they're just so hard to win. There are only 4 of them a year. You've got to be playing well when you get there. You're just kind of at the mercy of the golf gods sometimes. And Patrick will get there. I think he'll get there, and I think he'll get there in the next couple of years. But it was close yesterday. It just didn't get to the tape. But he's getting closer for sure.
He's Steve Sands. Does a great job, NBC Sports and the Golf Channel, obviously. Sandsy, thanks so much. Appreciate you doing this.
No, anytime, Zach. Anything for you, bud.
There you go. Steve Sands joining us. And for people that don't know, my father was Steve Sands' camp counselor at a sleepaway camp all those years ago. And then Sandsy has 3 great kids, and I was one of his kids' camp counselor as well. So that's how I know Steve Sands for all those years, and how he's known me when he brings that up in the interview. So good stuff with Sandsy, recapping the 2024 U.S. Open. We'll take a break. Santa's got some questions for me. I'll try to give him some answers. We do the segment every Monday and Friday. It's called Onside Offside. We'll get to it next. Update time, though. First, here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Oh, no team has ever come back from a 3-0 series deficit in NBA history. The Mavericks trying to become the first. They staved off elimination Friday with a 38-point victory, the 3rd largest ever in finals history. Now going to Boston down 3-1. Jason Kidd said they are going to stick with the same formula tonight.
What helps is we were in that situation last game, and so not to change or deviate from what we talked about in game 4 is just take each possession, one possession at a time, and hopefully we can put ourselves up winning each quarter.
They'll also need a big game from both of their stars, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Kristaps Porzingis has missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury and is hopeful of returning tonight. Speaking of returns, Trey Turner back for the Phillies after missing 6 weeks with a hamstring strain. The Phils will host the Padres tonight, while the Mets look to make it 6 in a row when they meet the Rangers in Texas after sweeping San Diego. Garrett Cole will make his season debut on Wednesday when the Yankees host the Orioles in Game 2 of that series. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Rock your body. this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Rory McIlroy just released a statement, actually. And this is what Rory McIlroy tweeted on out. Hold on, let's make sure that this is a real Rory McIlroy account first. Now let me ask you this. Do you think this is a real Rory McIlroy account? Where the bio, he has 3.2 million followers. In the bio, though, it says, I hit a little white ball around a field sometimes. Samter, I got to send this to you before I read this to a national audience. But I'll slack it to you real quickly. And you tell me if you think this is Rory McIlroy's real account. I think it's his real account. But before I go and read this statement on the air, I just want to double check. So we will stall here for a second, and I'll do the Ask the Pros question when Samter proofreads this, as I just saw it when we were coming back from break. It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Mike in Dallas is Zach. Will the Mavericks send this baby back to Dallas for a Game 6 on Thursday? You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I usually don't like betting the NBA, but I think the Celtics get the job done tonight. I will take the Celtics laying the 6.5 points. So that's the way that I answer that question. You think that's a real statement there, Samter?
Looks like it. Looks like it's a real account. I went down. It looks like, personal pictures and stuff, 3.2 million verified, but obviously we know that you never can trust the verified, but 3.2 million with all those personal pictures and months and years of Rory content. I think this is him.
And I heard that Rory got back with his wife, too.
Yeah, they reconciled.
Which is, you had all the rumors with Amanda Balionis. And then him and his wife, I guess, got back together. And he put his wedding ring back on, which I did see. So anyway, here's the statement from Rory McIlroy. Yesterday was a tough day, probably the toughest I've had in my nearly 17 years as a professional golfer. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Bryson. He is a worthy champion, exactly what professional golf needs right now. I think we can all agree on that. As I reflect on my week, I'll rue on a few things over the course of the tournament. Mostly the missed 2 putts on 16 and 18 on the final day. But as always, I try to do, I'll look at the positives of the week that far outweigh the negatives. As I said at the start of the tournament, I feel closer to winning my next major championship than I ever have. The one word that I would describe my career as is resilient. I've shown my resilience over and over again in the last 17 years, and I will again. I'm going to take a few weeks away from the game to process everything and build myself back up for my defense of the Genesis Scottish Open and the Open Championship. See you soon in Scotland. So there you go. That is Rory McIlroy. I'm telling you, and that's why I asked the Sansi. I am very concerned about Rory and how he recovers from this one. Because he's had to deal with a lot of crap the last few years, trying to be the face of golf and doing the right thing, and then the PGA Tour basically spat right in his face. And to be that close, and you haven't won a major since 2014, and on 16, I'll give you a lip out, it happens, right? Even though he was at a crazy rate of made putts within, 3 feet this year? I had the stat right here. Let me just pull it up before we get to onside, offside. He was 496 for 496 on putts inside 3 feet this season. And he had that miss on 16. But then on 18, Ack and I were talking about, it wasn't even close. I know it hit a little bit of the jar, but it wasn't even close. And he was within 5 feet again. I don't know how you mentally recover from that one, but it's something you can root for. I would love to see Rory win another major. And I used to not like Rory because I was a Tiger guy, but he has not won a major championship since 2014, and he was up 2 by 2 strokes on that back 9, and he couldn't find a way to get the job done. All righty, Sam just got some questions for me. I got some answers. Ryan Botcher, let's get to a little onside, offside. Hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All right, Samta, what do you got for me?
All right, well, your boy Drake May, the 3rd overall pick by your Pats, and while most expected he would start the season backing up Jacoby Brissett, the Boston Globe reports that Brissett isn't a lock as a starter at this point, saying, quote, if May is ready and playing better than Brissett, which he did on Wednesday, then there's no reason to sit the rookie to start the season. Onside, offside, Drake May will be starting for the Pats by week 4.
Ooh. I don't think he should be starting week 1. I've made that abundantly clear. Personally, and I'm not usually like this, but I don't think the Patriots have a good roster, so I want to wait till like November, December to see him. But the Patriots' first 4 games, Bengals, Seahawks, Jets, and 49ers. Ugh. I don't think by week 4 he's the starting. You're going to trot him out his first game potentially for the 49ers or before that. I don't see it. The Patriots have a tough start to their season. At the Bengals, Seattle, at the Jets, at the Niners, Dolphins, Texans. It's the first 6 games of the season. Oof. That's pretty rough. So onside, offside, Drake May will be starting by week 4. I will go offside.
Offside.
Next question, please.
We saw Trevor Lawrence got his monster deal worth $55 million a year. All eyes then switched to Dak and Tua. Yahoo Sports is now reporting that Dak is going to be looking for $60 million a year from the Cowboys or his other future team. So onside, offside, no matter who it's with, Dak's contract will surpass Lawrence's annual salary of $55 million a year.
Oh, yeah. Dak is more accomplished in the NFL than Trevor Lawrence. I know Trevor Lawrence is significantly younger than Dak Prescott, but Dak will make more than $55 million a year on his next contract. So Dak will surpass Lawrence's annual salary on sides.
Aaron Rodgers is missing from Jets' mandatory minicamp with an unexcused absence. Albert Breer joined Rich Eisen and speculated as to where Aaron Rodgers might actually be.
The best I can answer this right now that I feel solid about is that he is somewhere that they could not excuse and maintain credibility with the rest of the locker room, but would be expected. Would not be an out of left field thing for him. So you guys can open your mind, so to speak, as he's been known to open his mind sometimes into all the possibilities that might create.
Ayahuasca Aaron, baby.
There you go. However, Jets reporter Rich Cimini responded and seemed to refute that report.
I do not believe he's on a darkness retreat. I do not believe he's on an ayahuasca retreat. I don't think it has anything to do with RFK's campaign or campaigning for RFK. I know that's come up. I think he's on a vacation. I think he just took a trip far away out of the country, like really far, like on the other side of the world.
Well, that was from the Rich Cimini Flight Deck podcast, so I believe that was Rich. Maybe his voice has changed a little bit. I don't know.
No, well, why do you think that?
Why do I think that was Rich?
No, why don't you think that was Rich?
I thought you just said that's not Rich Cimini.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. This is not where Jack Stern put, who was it in the system last week?
Rob Thompson instead of Paul Skeens.
Yeah, no. I was just simply saying that's not fun, Rich.
I didn't hear the fun part. I thought you said that's not Rich. I'm like, wait, yeah, it is.
I want to believe that Rodgers is either at some RFK Jr. event or an ayahuasca function. So, do you believe Rodgers missing camp for an ayahuasca retreat? If you tell me that, I can't say that it's 100% false. Like, the moment this was put out by Salah, that he's at an event important to him, I tweeted out, so what, ayahuasca or an RFK Jr. event? Like, what are those events out there? Let's investigate. So, yeah, do I believe Rodgers missing camp for an ayahuasca retreat? It would not shock me. I would go on sides. I could believe that. I believe Breer more than Cimini there.
Now, there seems to be growing problems around Deion.
If, let's just say he's taking a vacation very, 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 very far away. He's not doing ayahuasca on this vacation very, very far. It may not be a retreat, but he's definitely dabbling in his ayahuasca a little bit, right?
Yeah, so the next one, there seems to be a growing problem.
We should make Sam to do ayahuasca.
Again, you mean?
Live stream.
Maybe or maybe not. Listen, if Mark Messier could do it, I can do it.
Go ahead.
There seems to be growing problems around Coach Prime.
Hey, be right. Be respectful there.
And his program at Colorado. A new rumor circulating says many players decided to hit the transfer portal after Deion reportedly threatened to kick them off the team if they didn't attend his son Shador's rap concert. To be fair, Prime responded, calling the rumor, quote, one of the best lies I've heard.
Wasn't he like one of the opening acts for Lil Wayne, I read?
Yes, correct.
Oh, man.
That's
hate
what you
to
call-
have to go to a Little Wayne show. Oh, what a big crime that is.
But if you're being threatened to get kicked off the team for it, that's a different story.
Let me tell you, there was an event once when I played football in high school. There was something for like the band and the cheerleaders that we had to go to, and it was like the middle of winter when it was freezing, and everyone made an excuse to try to get out of it. A lot of us did. But like, if I had to go to a Little Wayne concert, I'm not making an excuse to get out of that. So what's the question here?
So onside, offside, you buy that this rumor is true?
I'm going to say on sides, and here's why. I'm not saying he emphatically implied that you would get kicked off the team, but he would strongly suggest that you go support your teammate in Shedeur Sanders, and this is what teams do, and if you want to continue to be with us and be a part of the team, you do what we suggest. I could see something like that being sent from the message from Coach Prime, who I'm a believer, and I hope Colorado has a very successful season. Alrighty. That's onside, offside. That's where we could cut it for today. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Ryan Botcher for joining us today. Big thanks to Moist Mike, always producing a phenomenal extravaganza. And also, we'd like to thank Steve Sands for stopping by on the Golf Channel and NBC Sports, and each and every one of you for contributing, participating, and listening to this very, very fine national radio program. Hope everyone had a great Father's Day yesterday. We will be back mañana at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We will see if the NBA season is over, if the Celtics will have their 18th championship, or will we get a Game 6 that will come your way on Thursday night. Enjoy your evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Infinity Sports Network. This is the Zach Gelb Show. We out. Bye-bye. Peace!